Hey guys, it's Drake RPG Construct, part 2 of our Mouseguard character creation. So let me switch back to the sheet that we had. And so we kind of got a basic kind of background idea of what this guy is. So his name's Connor, his hometown is Copperwood, red fur. We talked about his parents, where he apprenticed under, who he apprenticed under, his mentor in the Mouseguard, his friend, his enemy, his belief structure, and his instinct. Okay, I purposely left age and guard rank out. Okay, but we're going to kind of go a little bit through this right now and see how we can do. So let's get right to it. So with regard to rank, okay, in Mouseguard there are 5 ranks. Okay, rank 1 is like a rookie. It's called a tender paw. You're a brand new fresh recruit. You're through your apprenticeship. You've been mentored, and now you're coming into the guard. Okay. Next is a guard mouse. You are fully integrated into the Mouseguard, and you're kind of just your typical kind of foot soldier. Okay. Next is a patrol guard. You're a veteran guard. You get put on duties that are a little bit more complicated, and you go on independent missions. Okay, stuff like that. A patrol leader, which is rank 4. These are leaders of the guard. They demonstrated they can think independently, and they can, guide other mice. Okay, and finally, it's a guard captain, which is the highest rank of a Mouseguard. These are the most powerful mice, appointed to the highest rank due to their long-standing service and exemplary valor. Okay, each one of these has particular stats. Okay, I'm going to go through them all. But for the purposes of what we're going to be doing here, let's make a tender paw. Okay? So we're going to go into here, and we are going to start writing in. So guard rank is going to be tender paw, which means he is rank 1, basically. So when you're a tender paw, it specifically says that my age is 14 to 17. Okay? So I'm going to go with 17. He's a relatively older tender paw. And with tender paw, okay, we're going to shimmy over here. Oops. We're going to shimmy over here to abilities. Okay. With a tender paw, we're going to fill in some of these things here. Okay. And oops, sorry guys. And what we're going to be saying here is will. This is your mental fortitude, how strong you are mentally, how easy you are to overcome mental angst or anguish, things like that. Think about it just like D&D 5th edition. A wisdom save, how powerful are you mentally? And in Mouseguard, a tender paw is actually only a 2 out of 6 for that. Now health, because he is young and virile, think about like an 18-year-old kid. He is as healthy as they come. Now, health is not hit points. They don't have hit points in Mouseguard, okay? But this is, think about it like Constitution. How hardy are you? How healthy are you? And a tender paw is a 6, so you can't get any better than that, okay? So, and this is all stuff that's in the book. But what happens next is, as a tender paw, you get other skills as well, okay? As a tender paw, you go to your Pathfinder skill, and that's 2, okay? Then you go to your Scout skill, and that's a 2. And there's one other here that's, you're just going to have to type in, sorry, Laborer, Laborer. That's going to be a 2 as well. Those are the only 3 starting things for a tender paw. When you get up into the patrol leaders and Mouseguards and guard captains, they really are a lot more. You have a lot more skills, but this is a kid. This is like an 18-year-old joining the army. Has no idea about the real world, but he's strong, he's hardy, and he knows a little bit about, about fighting. Okay? So just keep that in mind. So moving on to the next section here. So that is it there for that. Also, next you have to choose some skills. Okay? Now, when you choose skills, let me just kind of go through these. You're going to start out with where you were born, okay? And where I was born was Copperwood. And based off of where you're born, you get to pick 1 skill and 1 trait, okay? In Copperwood, because it's a mining town, I can choose a skill as a smith or a haggler. Well, I'm going to use smith because That's like I said, my father was there. Your base is going to be a 2. Okay, if you just learned it, it's a 2. But you can choose these things more than once. So if I already had, say for example, my I could do Scout. Let's say for that was an example. If I chose Scout as one of my territory kind of skills, then that would move up to a 3. Okay, but that's not one of them, so we don't have to worry about it. And a trait, we're going to put this over here. We'll get into traits in a little bit. Trait is independent. However that's spelled. There you go. Okay, so we're going to put that over there in the traits. Next, guys, you have to take from your life experience. Okay, you are pick an area in which you are naturally talented. Okay, so think about your backstory. Think about what you're good at, what you might have learned growing up. Just something that you think your guy would have a natural aptitude for. And there is literally like 30 of these things. Okay, everything from administrator to smith, scout, scientist, potter, armorer, baker, weaver, etc., etc. Okay, so you can pick anything. But to kind of keep going with what we've been doing, I think I'm going to pick Smith. Okay, and if I pick Smith, then that one, because I'm choosing that's going to go up to a 3. Okay. Now the thing about it is, it's kind of neat. A tender paw and a guard captain can choose 2 of these life experience skills. Guard mice, patrol guards, and patrol leaders can only do 1. Okay, so I just took Smith, and I think I'm also going to take Armorer, because that was what my mentor did, right? It's kind of the same thing, and we'll just put that as a 2. And there's a whole list in the thing, guys, but and I know you can't see it, but believe me, that's what's going on. Then you say, okay, what was your parents' trade? And you choose 1 skill from this list here, which is Archivist, Armorer, Baker, Boatcrafter, Brewer, Carpenter, Cartographer, Glazier, Harvester, Insectrist, Miller, Porter, Smith, Stonemason, or Weaver. Okay, I'm going to go with Smith because that's what my parents did, right? So now that is going to go all the way up to a 4. Oops, if I could actually click on the thing, right? Stop it. There we go. So that's going to go up to a 4. Okay. Next, you have to pick here in this little section here for your skills. How do you convince people that you're right or to do what you need them to do? Okay. You have to pick. Order, Persuader, or Deceiver, or Manipulator. Okay. I'm going to say that this guy is probably a manipulator. He probably uses, he doesn't give the whole truth all the time, just like a typical kid, He's kind of a spoiled brat in some ways. He might be a good fighter, might want to work hard, but he always wants to make himself sound better. So as far as that goes, we're going to put a 2 in Deceiver. Okay? Next, we are going to talk about when he apprenticed, right? When he apprenticed, what was that mouse's trade? And if we go back up here, we said that Seamus was an armorer, right? So you go back down here, you find armorer, and you add 1 skill point to that. Okay, so he's pretty adept at smithing and armoring. Then you go back up to your mentor, right? Good old Colin here. What did he do? What did he stress in his training, right? Now in this, patrol leaders choose 2, but every other rank chooses 1. And as I said, Colin stressed fighting, right? So your base here is generally going to be 2, but because you're adding 1 to that, it's going to be a 3. Okay? So, like I said, all these are pretty much a base 2, unless you have nothing. Or it might be a 3, I don't know. I might have messed that up, but if anybody watches this and I messed that up, I will fix it, I promise. So then finally, you have to decide what is your specialty, okay? What is something that you are very good at, okay? Now, with your specialty, you can only have 1 specialty per group or per mouse in the patrol. So if somebody's a specialty fighter, you can't have 2 specialty fighters, okay? And that's fighter, instructor, survivalist, healer, pathfinder, hunter, scout, or weather watcher. okay? There's only a few of them, but I'm going to say Scout. That this guy is just a really good Scout, and that puts him to, because I suck at this, that puts him to a 3. Okay. Then you pretty much just got to tally it all up, okay? So you see where we are right here on all these notes, all these skills. So what do these skills say? It says that I'm a pretty decent fighter, I'm a pretty decent Scout, but I'm very robust and hardy as a young person. I'm kind of naive. I'm a decent laborer, but I have skills with metal for making armor and weapons and smithing, things like that. Okay, so you got a pretty good idea. This guy's whole life is smithing, apparently. And he also has an independent trait, which we'll get to that in a minute, but that can absolutely come into effect too. So, okay, we're about 10 minutes in, guys. And so we have a pretty good idea of what this guy's good at, right? He's strong, he's young, he's eager, he's a hard worker. He has a lot of skills with the forge from his family and his apprenticeship. But he did learn some fighting skills through his mentor. So, you kind of get a good idea of what this guy's is. And his specialty is scouting. So in the patrol, if there is ever something needed for this, for scouting, that's his specialty. He's going to be the one that does that. Okay. Now, the next part, we're going to talk about nature. Okay. So if you don't have one of these skills, like healer, right? He doesn't have any skills there. Your nature, it kind of measures your mousiness, if that makes any sense. Okay. So what you have to do, your base nature is a 3. Oops. I don't know why that didn't like me, but apparently that one didn't like me. Weird. All right, so your base nature is a 3. Everybody has that. But then you have to ask yourself some questions. Okay, these are the 3 questions you have to ask yourself. Do you save for winter, even if it means going without something now, or do you use what you have when you need it? Well, I think this guy would use what he have when he needs it. So according to this, if you save for winter, increase your nature by 1. If you do not, you may take the bold, generous, or impetuous trait at level 1. So I would say that I am going to take impetuous, because that seems to be him. Oops, I really need to learn how to spell, guys, because I can't type. My computer's so darn slow. Oops. Anyway. I don't know why I can't do this, guys. There we go. Impetuous. So, all right. So independent, impetuous. Then you go back up and you say, okay. So, okay. So it's still staying at 3. It's not going up. When confronted, do you stand your ground and fight, or do you run and hide? I think this guy would stand your ground and fight. If you run and hide, you increase your nature by 1, decrease your starting fighter skill. And decrease your starting fighter skill if you have it by 1. If you do not run, leave fighter and nature as the same. So again, nothing changes. Okay. Do you fear owls, weasels, and wolves? If you do, increase your nature by 1. If you do not, take the fearless, brave, or foolish trait, and right there. So I'm going to say that this guy doesn't know enough to fear these things. He hasn't been out there enough and seen the damage they can do. He just probably thinks they're, bedtime stories. So I'm going to say he's bold. So he's independent, he's impetuous, and he's bold. So again, you can see these traits right there that really kind of make sense. Okay, so really, his rating is going to stay at a 3. And when this is useful, guys, is when you are rolling for something that you don't have a skill in. Okay, when you don't have a skill in it, you're not a good healer, right? You can use your nature as your roll. Okay, like I said in the beginning, you're rolling d6s. So whatever that number is, okay, so say and let's just go back here, and I'll get to the rolls in a second as far as that goes, but if I have to make a health check, I'm rolling 6d6, basically a fistful of dice here, okay? If I'm making a nature roll, I'm rolling 3d6s, okay? So again, we'll get to rolls in a minute, but that's what those mean. These numbers mean how many d6s you roll when you are rolling that skill or that trait or whatever. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Next, we're going to go, to resources and circles. So, okay, what are resources? This is basically stuff based off of your rank. The next two is heavily based off of your rank. And I'm just going to read the resources right out of the book. Resources represent the guard's pay, but also how resourceful and clever the mouse is with his possessions and material goods. So what can you get? What can you go find? You might have a resources roll if you're looking for something to build a bridge across this little stream or something like that. Are you resourceful enough to figure that out? Okay, and this is based on your rank. So Tender Paw is a 1, Guard Mouse is 2, Patrol Guard 3, Patrol Leader 4, Guard Captain 5, right? So with that, that means that his resources is a 1. So I'm not very resourceful. I'm a new guy. I don't know a lot of people, right? Next is Guard Circles. And the circles are basically, the circles ability represent how well connected your character is. Think about it like charisma in a regular, D&D. Do you have connections? Do you know people? Do people talk to you? Something like that. Again, this is based off your rank. A Tender Paw is going to be a 1. Guard Mice are a 2. Patrol Guard and Patrol Leaders are a 3. And Guard Captains are a 4. Think about it. They've been there 4 times as long. They know everybody, right? So this guy, again, is going to be 1. All right? So, again, that is kind of where we're at. It's just a base. Oops, sorry. My other computer just talked. So that's kind of a base kind of idea. Okay, these are your abilities. This is how we're creating it. And there's even some basic dice rules here. Just to kind of remind you what helps you and what doesn't help you. And again, we're going to be doing that, obstacles and combat and stuff like that here in another video. But this is how it's based. And I know it's really difficult, but you only need one person with the book or the GM with the book, and they will, and they can absolutely take you through it and kind of step by step. So next, and finally, I think we're just gonna do two more things here, maybe another 2 or 3 more minutes. So finally, we're gonna do some traits, guys, and I will get into what the traits are and everything and what they mean in a little bit. But you do have to pick them for this. Sorry, don't know how to do it. So your traits here, you can only have a maximum of 5 traits, okay, as you see. All right. So the next thing it says is choose a trait that you were born with. And basically, it kind of reinforces. You can reinforce your hometown trait, or if you want to pick a new one, you can do that. Okay. So let's go with. Oh, I don't know. Let's see here. I kind of like the independent thing. So just for notes purposes, we're going to put ×2 here. And I will explain what those mean. There's a little bit of an indication right over here, but we're going to get that in a second. And I think innocent is going to be 1. And the book actually does go into what all these traits mean, but I'm going to do that in a video that is specifically on traits. Okay? So we do that. And again, you can pick as many as you want, but it may limit you from learning new skills later because you can only have 5 traits. Okay? Next, you have to choose something you learned or inherited from your parents. And this one is for Tender Paws only. So you have to take 1 off of this list. Okay? So it's things like brave, calm, clever, quiet, scarred, sharp-toothed, short, stubborn. I don't know. I think I'm going to make this guy, and I'm going to make him, tough. Think about it. If your parents were really smiths and in a mining company, I think they'd kind of raise you to be tough. So next, and again, this isn't going to be for this particular character, but let me switch back to here. Sorry guys, give me a sec. But there's also next called Life on the Road for traits, because the one from your parents is just for Tender Paws. But patrol leaders and guard captains, you can also choose a trait that represents a lesson learned from their tenure in the guard. Okay, so, and it's the same types of things, you know, bold, leader, jaded, skinny, stoic, wise, driven. There's a bunch of them. Okay, but if you're a patrol leader or a guard captain, then you can absolutely choose one too. But the three in the middle, or the first three cannot. Okay, so finally, guys, I'm in this last thing that we're going to talk about here to fill in as far as character sheets go, is going to be the cloak color. Now, your cloak, okay, is bestowed upon you by your mentor. Okay, and let me see here. I guess got to get back to here. There we go. So your mentor gets to choose the color of your cloak, whatever that is, and it's based off of the predominant trait in your personality. Okay, so let's look at my personality. You know, I want to fight, right? I want to do that. I want hard work. You know, I'm with the Smith and everything like that. I'm independent. I'm bold. I'm impetuous. I'm innocent, and I'm tough. You know, I think that it would be like a gray cloak. Do you think? Like a gray, like a dark gray, like it kind of looks like iron. That goes for being tough and you know, kind of independent. You're not too hot-headed, but you're not really, you know, shy either. But I think that gray, or like a dark gray, would work really well for his cloak. And that's really the only defining characteristic that you're going to have in this system, or in this this game. So you really want to kind of pay attention to that. So we're going to say that his cloak is going to be dark gray. So, all right, guys. So that is pretty much that your character sheet as far as what the numbers say, okay, and how you come up with those numbers. Okay, so you see, oops, I apologize, my computer sucks. So you see, you have your skills, you have your traits, all that stuff, and I'll get into the contacts and gear and stuff in the next video. But that is how you create a character, and it's all about, if you look at this, guys, it's all about, you know, we almost told a story while we were creating this, right? We almost came up with everything of who this mouse is, who Connor is, what he came from, what he wants to be, you know, what defines him as a member of the Mouseguard, and then you can act accordingly. It's almost like it's a complete RPG game just through the character creation. So I hope that helped, guys. I am going to talk about abilities specifically. I'm going to talk about roles. I'm going to talk about traits. I'm going to talk about gear in the next video. I don't want these to go too long, and I'm already at 23 minutes. So this is part 2 of character creation, guys. I will be back with, I think I'll probably do abilities and traits next. So look for the next one, guys. Take care.